everybody. Dr. Dion here. Welcome to Case Studies. This is a new series where I'm going to introduce you to one of my clients and walk through some of their surfing progress. The first one up is Peyton Lee. I have been working with Peyton since about 2020, or not about, but 2021. They and their ex-partner moved to the local area in Rockaway. Specifically, they were living just down the street from the beach I've been surfing since I moved to New York in 2009. And they were charging. The first time I saw them, it was way overhead. And to be honest, they were clueless. I was like, what are you doing out here? But they weren't scared. We were the only ones in the water and kept seeing them coming back and forth. And then we finally met and they asked me about coaching and we engaged in our coaching relationship. Unlike you're going to hear in this video where they say that we have done 2 trips together, we've actually done 3 trips together. We went to Mexico and Peyton then visited me at my property in Costa Rica. And then we just did this last trip in Barbados in which there was the huge unlock in their surfing. As they say in the video, we've done tons of work together in the New York area and in New Jersey. I think we've even done some trips up to Rhode Island. But the biggest unlocks do come on the trips. And that's what happened this year, just this past January in Barbados, where Peyton started pumping harder and really got the frontside cutback more powerful and with better form. So they are throwing a little bit more spray, going all the way back to the whitewater, and really getting that foot back over the tail. Something we've been working on consistently in their surfing is eliminating this frog pop-up, so not getting quite enough twist in the hips for the feet to land perpendicular to the stringer, and then crouching with the butt rather than with the knee going down. And they are, as they say, they are a natural with balance, very athletic, and flexibility is not an issue, but strength was an issue. We detail later in the video about their strength training regime, which is new to them. I don't coach them in the Surf Ready 365 capacity, but they are ideal in the sense that they have something supplementary to their surfing already in place. And this is pretty much at this point for me as a coach, I view as required for improving your surfing as an adult. You need as many, they're not hacks, but you need as many supplements as you can get. Not necessarily the food that you take in supplements, but you need as many supplementary practices to aid your surfing as you can possibly fit in your schedule to really improve as an adult. So I hope you enjoy this video. I'm super stoked on Peyton surfing and I'm excited to keep working with them for those end section hits. All right, check it out. Enjoy it. Choo-choo.
Peyton Lee.
That's me.
All right, let's look at this footage and then that will kind of prompt you.
Cool.
I'm just
I always look at old clips of myself.
yeah.
I can.
All right. Let's just watch through it. Let's just watch through it like just straight. And then we'll look at some of the...
Farmy has that board now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you still have this board?
No, Kat has that board in California.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
All the
My boards are just, I mean, Monica has that other board in Bali.
Yeah, I'm trying to get her. She's back on a short board. I just did a video review for her and I'm like, Monica,
Get on the bigger board.
you need to go back to the 6'9". There's just some things about that surf culture there that
I know.
still trying to get through the froggy kick, the froggy
Yeah.
one of the things I noticed though, like the steady uptick in your surfing is the wave judgment,
Yeah.
and the turning is really eluding you though, but you're thinking about it now.
Trying,
Trying.
trying so hard.
That was nice timing, like slowing down your paddle. If only these days could return to the, I guess this is later fall though, because you're not wearing gloves yet.
Yeah, I have no gloves.
And then this is summer.
Yeah, because we don't, I think that's my three too.
Yeah, yeah, this is last summer. Jenna was filming
Yeah.
this. This is that spot which shall not be named.
Oh yeah, that was a fun morning too.
Yeah, it's been so good the past couple of years. It was promising the other day, that Saturday that you were sick,
Yeah.
but that swell just wasn't that good. All right, that turn, you're getting there. It's just crazy. Like when we get to the Barbados footage,
I know, it's
it's just
crazy.
like a switch, and here we are. Obviously, I didn't put, there's a ton of other footage I have of you from other sessions.
Yeah.
Costa Rica's not in here. But even that takeoff is so we can see the frog pop up just getting further and further away now that you're making more
Yeah.
and look at like how much more effective your pumping is. Whoa, even like trying little top turns. That it's crazy the pop up.
Yeah, the pop-up is like such a big, I mean, looking at the pop-up, it's crazy.
And you're crouching with the butt now more. The knee's not dropping down in that downward position,
Yeah.
going down because we work so much with the butt going first. And I think you're like going for it in this cobbler session. Oh, thing was never gonna let you in. So much more effective pumping.
Yeah.
Oh, this part's funny. Still happens.
Always.
And here, like, I think you were really influenced by that was sick, little head dipper. But that's not the like real like first tube, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely
It's
like in the head dip though. I did slow-mo it for you. But I think you were influenced by watching me surf this board at Maycox.
yeah, I was. It helped so much.
And there we go. And now the turning is like, yeah, watching me push down on it, like how hard you can push.
Yeah.
And the arms are just open and you're trusting your butt more.
Well, I also feel like when you were surfing the board, I noticed how far back your foot was and like what it actually looks like to have your foot that far back.
Yeah, this was your first like so sick, like combo, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll slow-mo it for you. Now, like you're like in there for just like the smallest moment, but it's pretty sick. And then you move that foot. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, watching you surf the board was such an unlock. I feel like you should do that more in your content.
Surf other people's boards for them.
Yeah. Or just like bigger boards.
Oh, I know. But
It's such a, I know it's like not your vibe, but it really was. I was like, oh, because I've watched you surf so much and I've just seen you surf so much. And then when you had it, when you were surfing on that board, I was like, oh, that like it just mapped how you surf the smaller board to the bigger board. And it was like such a unlock for me of like, oh, that's what my, like I can map my body to like what I was supposed to be doing. So
I try to
I think
put
that was
I try
helpful.
to do as much mid-length content as I can, but then if I just get shortboard content, I'm like I put it out there for the sake of
Yeah, I mean, it's sick.
putting out content. But I do understand sometimes I'm actually more pleased even just with how I'm like, oh, I look better on those boards, but then they get a little boring. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, just talk a little bit about what that connection between your body and your mind that happened in Barbados.
Yeah. I mean, that was my second, I think that was our second trip together, or my second trip with you. And I feel like I think having the time to surf together, which we have done 100 times, but then spend the rest of the day together helps so much because I feel like we were just talking so much about the surfing. And then it's like, if you're like, get your butt down, you can show me, which we've also done before. But then I also think just being in
And then
person,
just
it's like,
stand up. See how easy
I
that
mean,
is?
literally that one night when we
Do
were
it again. Lead with the butt.
doing the
Butt
pig
goes first.
dog, it
Butt.
was like, there was no way I would have understood that unless we
Yep.
were on the trip and we had just been doing it and then we were together. So I feel like that is honestly
Yes.
like such a
And
huge
now
part of it.
play with how
Like that's one of
butt
the I think
first.
benefits about
Butt
doing a
first.
trip
Go with the butt.
because it's
Yes.
so concentrated.
Everything
Obviously,
else,
if you're only doing trips,
just put your head in your
probably not
ass.
going to get better. But like I think since you and I have been working together so long, it's just like a different way for
And
us
it's
to.
also because you can go, like, we're gonna find some wave the next day.
Yeah,
So, so
exactly.
you can find the wave to, like, you can practice the thing the next day. Like you don't have to wait like till the next swell comes and then remember the thing that I told you.
Right.
And I think maybe in the context of like working with somebody over time and like it does still work in like a local environment, but you don't get the reps in the same way.
Yeah.
And then it can be confusing about like remembering like what thing like I just want to work on one thing at a
Like,
time.
what am I working on right now? Like, and then you're also just probably you're just stoked to be surfing, so you have to kind of like get past that like mental block too. Um, yeah, and then I think too, just like because I do think like watching you surf is so helpful to me. I know like when you're on a trip, you're like frothing and you want to get as many waves as possible and whatever, but it does give you the chance to like take a beat and it's like, yeah, I'll sit here for like an hour and just watch you surf and being able to watch you surf and then go surf the same wave is so helpful. Like I feel like we did that in Costa Rica too.
Hmm.
And it's just so helpful. And I feel like in Rockaway, it's harder to do that because it's like you're crunched for time or like whatever. It's like you want to surf. And so I think that's the other like mind body connection of just watching someone and then for like a long time and then going out and surfing the same exact wave is has been really, I think, valuable to me for sure.
That's cool for me because that's basically
I think that like it's underrated. I think like like the filming thing too. Like I'm like all I mean, you know this, I'm like always down to film, but it's just these things are underrated because if you're filming, you have to be paying attention to the waves. And you have to be like, okay, well, I think someone's probably going to go on that wave that's coming in, and then like be ready. And so it trains you to like, you're almost like practicing your wave judgment or something. Like that's what filming does for me. And then I think it's the same with watching. It's like, it's not watching you because I want to surf exactly like you or I want to surf exactly like that person or whatever. But it's, I think what you said about picking and choosing and just, there's so much you can learn from people who are surfing well, just watching. But it's hard, to like sit and watch. But I do think it's underrated.
progress felt for you in surfing? Like, what has been the like feeling for you?
Yeah, I think uh I progressed really fast to getting to like I think some level of competency because I just had the fortunateness of spending a ton of time in Costa Rica. And so I think I skipped a lot of the stuff that's really shitty when you first start. But I think the flip side of that is once I got to a certain point, which was like kind of around where when you and I started working together,
Hmm.
there's no way it became so hard to get better. And I don't think there's any way that I would be able to surf right now like I surf if I wasn't working with you. Like there's it would have just taken like 10 years or something. And it's so I think it's felt, after the first maybe like year or two, progress has felt like less of a steep like hockey stick kind of thing. But I think it's felt steady. Like I can look at, I mean, we can
Still
look at, I look,
Barbados. It kind of like hockey.
until Barbados, and then it hockey sticked again. But I think that's how progress is. I mean, I feel that's how progress is in everything, and you just have to kind of trust that like the work that you're putting in at some point you'll like get to that hockey stick again. And for me, it's felt like a couple years. It was like a couple years of just like you and I, like I've just been working with you for a couple of years, just like straight, like as consistently as possible. And some sessions I'm like, shit, I suck at surfing. And some sessions I'm like, oh, that was like cool that I was able to do that or whatever. But then I feel like this last trip felt like a culmination of everything you and I have been working on for like 2 years,
Yeah.
which is awesome. And I think it can feel hard, I think, when you're like adult, intermediate, whatever, to just trust that it's like working. But it does, like I think this is the proof to me.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean that one the tuck the tuck combo like getting the
yeah.
tuck and then getting the turn where you really I did a video review for Monica yesterday that she had sent me right before we left for Barbados. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
timing. I'm like, I am going to get this to you. But she's leaning over her front foot. And I wrote in her session notes, I wrote to her that like you need to talk to Peyton because
Yeah.
they had the unlock. I'm like, you have to trust your butt. You have to trust the anti-gravity part of surfing where you just sit down. And it's
Yeah.
easy that the board works that way and it follows, but a lot of people don't trust that backwards push
Yeah.
that using the back. Like a lot of people get security from leaning forward and leaning over and closing themselves off. And
Yeah.
it's actually funny, like if we think about it psychologically or psychoanalytically,
No, totally.
how much easier is it to close off than it is to open up?
Yeah, it is. And I feel like that was the big like body like unlock this trip where it's just like a completely different thing than I thought it was in my head. Like that leaning, like trusting the fact like how hard you can push like is and it's just a complete like the squat down is like a completely different mental model than I had it in my head. But I don't think there's any way I would have gotten there if we hadn't been talking about it for a year. Like it's just
Yeah.
so hard. Like it's until you do it, until it like clicks, it's so hard to actually get and like really do. So I feel like,
So the pop
yeah,
up, right? There's
the
two
hop up.
there's two things I noticed from just watching that 5 minutes of footage. One, you're so much stronger now since you started your.
Yeah.
So I will say, like, I'm recording this and I'll publish this probably on YouTube, but um, you don't do my surf specific program. You do your own strength training, but it's still the proof in the pudding about resistance training for surfing
Yes.
because your body's stronger. And so you actually have the strength to do the things that I'm telling you. Whereas before, you might even somewhat understand them conceptually, and the body's just not reacting the same way. So, like, the two things that I'm noticing the strength training working so much in conjunction with the surfing is that each paddle is 20 times faster. So the confidence in the entry and having that time in the entry to make the space for the better pop-up is
Yeah.
vastly improved.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably exactly what I would have said. I think it's like I've obviously been working on the strength stuff a ton. And for a while, it was like hard. I was like, I'm not really sure if this is translating to surfing. Like it was kind of hard to tell. But then I think in Barbados and just like watching it, it feels, I mean, I'm like not as tired like towards the end of the session. It becomes like a secondary thing where it's like, oh, am I gonna be able to like pop up and make the space that I need to pop up? It's kind of just like you can. And so your body, so I think it's part of that. But then I think it translates to feeling, I think, more confident, like you said, in the movements where, I think the pop-up's a great example. And then even the turning and the like squat and putting your weight back is another good example where it's like my legs are strong enough for this, so it's like I'm not worried about that, or it's like am I gonna go off balance or like whatever. And I feel like that translates to the movements being like they look different. Like the movements just look different. And partially it is just I'm stronger, and then partially it is I think I feel stronger.
And partially is the no Cobra video.
Yeah. And that video, oh my God, that was another big unlock, which was like a not even in the water unlock. I was like, oh my God, I think I'm doing that. And I actually never learned how to pop up. Like I didn't, I feel like sometimes when you like people are just like, here's how to pop up, and then you're like on the beach and whatever, and someone teaches you and that's how you do it. But I never really learned. And I think because it was fine, my like first version of a pop-up, no one ever was
Like
like,
your first surf instructors must have been so stoked. They were
yeah,
like,
exactly.
they did it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. They were like, this is great. Like, and it's just, that was just, it just came naturally. And it's like, if you have that balance gene, it's like you can kind of balance. And so no one ever stopped me and was like, at some point, that's not going to work for you. And I feel like you helped me a lot with that in general, like anything like that. That's like this kind of works right now, but like at some point it's not going to work. Like I feel like when I was first starting to try and like crouch down, it was very like forward leaning over the foot, the front foot.
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, it'll work kind of, but at some point it's not going to work. And I feel like kind of like cuts it off before it can become so ingrained.
Yeah, your hips were really parallel.
Yeah,
Like the problem with that frog pop-up, you weren't getting
right.
the appropriate, like it's not that much twist, but now you're getting it's not completely gone, but it's like 80% gone.
Yeah.
So now with your hips more squared off and your shoulders more open to the wave, that's making, to use my favorite philosophical term, which I actually think is Kantian, the conditions for the possibility,
Yeah.
those wrapping turns. And now like you're just going to translate. It's going to be great. Like, I mean, you're my first client to really get close. Like now I think you're going to get a real tube eventually get in. If we ever get tubing waves in New York again,
Yeah.
or on another trip where the waves
Yeah.
are mechanical and tubing. And then, we still have some work to do backside. That was like
Yeah.
the unfinished business of Barbados. But then the end section, like I still do not. Ben has done some end section hits, but he came into it like a little bit more advanced, and
Yeah.
they're not timed the way that I want to see closed. Like
Right.
that's what I love about an end section hit. It's just like the book is shut, the case is
Yeah.
closed, the wave is done.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to be said, especially when
Yeah.
they're timed well. And there's not they go in different degrees of radicality, but even just the most simple on the lip, boom,
It
down.
looks so sick.
Yeah. And it seems to be actually very elusive people for a lot of people because they go too early or they go too late and they try too hard and don't just like get the form like onto the lip and down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that's the next frontier.
Next frontier. All right. Well, I think that's enough for me.
Yeah.
But I'm
Right.
not the only coach in the world, and I'm not the only coach for everyone for sure. Pipe is on, I think, right now. How many days a week do you work out, by the way?
Every day.
Thank you so much. Like, subscribe. Love you forever if you like and subscribe. Watch my other videos. That's really cool. If you want to know more about coaching and all things that I do, just go over to my website. Everything lives there. Archives of these videos live there. Get over there.